troopers and transportation and local first responders are staged across the state and working to keep people safe. I've authorized National Guard activation, which means soldiers and vehicles are staged in key areas, ready to deploy when and if they're needed. Swiftwater rescue teams are preparing to deploy in eastern and central parts of our state. So far, several counties and cities have declared their own local states of emergency, while the statewide state of emergency remains in effect. We do expect power outages and are working with our utility partners on a swift response. Our Department of Transportation utilizes drones in weather events like this to survey damage, and their workers stand ready to identify trouble and help clear roadways as quickly as possible. We expect winds, rain, and flooding to continue to impact our state even into Saturday. I encourage people to listen to local officials and make sure you have a plan if you're in an area with a flood risk. Prepare an emergency kit if you don't have one. This is the first storm of the season, and it may not be the last. So go to readync.gov to learn more about it. Today I'm joined up here by Emergency Management Director Will Ray, our Public Safety Secretary Eddie Buffalo, our Transportation Secretary Eric Boyette, the Adjutant General of the North Carolina National Guard Todd Hunt, Colonel Freddie Johnson, the Commander of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, Emergency Management Assistant Director for Planning Katie Webster. Our American Sign Language interpreters are Karen Magoon, Jeff Greer, and Mark Lineberger. And behind the scenes, as always, our Spanish language interpreters, Jackie Mativier and Erica Kugler. At this time, I'll ask Director Ray for his update.
Thank you, Governor Cooper, and good afternoon, everyone. On Monday of this week, the State Emergency Response Center moved to an enhanced watch. This morning, we fully activated the State Emergency Response Team here in Raleigh and at our regional coordination centers in Kinston and Burlington. We will remain in 24-hour operations until the threat from Hurricane Idalia has passed. Our concerns for this event are widespread heavy rains with localized flash flooding and moderate riverine and coastal flooding, along with increased tornado and severe weather threat. The emergency operations centers in Duplin, New Hanover, Onslow, and Pender counties have all been activated, and many others are monitoring the storm and impacts in their counties. Columbus County has declared a local state of emergency in addition to a number of other jurisdictions. Staff from North Carolina Emergency Management are working alongside our key government, private sector, and nonprofit and volunteer partners that make up the State Emergency Response Team. We are closely monitoring Idalia's progress and coordinating with our local emergency management partners to make sure counties have the resources they need to respond to the impacts of this storm. In addition to the resources our local jurisdictions are activating to support response operations, we have moved a number of resources into position today to support areas that could be significantly impacted. We have 7 swiftwater rescue teams, which equates to 16 boat crews that are staged in multiple locations across the eastern and central parts of the state and ready to move quickly to areas where they could be needed. Likewise, resources from the North Carolina National Guard, including about 130 personnel with over 60 vehicles that can move through high water, are staged and ready to deploy quickly from Kinston, Elizabethtown, Rockingham, and Lillington. Brunswick, Northampton, and Terrell Public Schools will or have already released early today. Beaufort, Brunswick, Craven, Duplin, Greene, Jones, Lenoir, Onslow, Pamlico, Pitt, Robinson, Sampson, Scotland, and Wayne public school systems have already closed for tomorrow. Bladen, Carteret, Columbus, Dare, Harnett, Hoke, Hyde, both mainland and Ocracoke, New Hanover, Pender, and Terrell will be remote or asynchronous tomorrow as well. In addition to the preparedness steps Governor Cooper mentioned, make sure you pay close attention to your local weather forecast and have multiple ways to receive weather alerts and warnings. Follow any directions that may be issued by your local government officials. Be prepared for the possibility of power outages and flash flooding, and remember to avoid driving on flooded roads. Turn around, don't drown. If you have yard waste on your curb, move that away from the street so it does not wash away and clog storm drains. That could cause or worsen flash flooding in your neighborhood. If your power goes out, be prepared with battery-powered light sources. Avoid using candles and never use a generator or grill inside your home or garage. Generators and grills create deadly carbon monoxide fumes. As always, and as the governor mentioned, readync.gov is your source for emergency preparedness information to make sure your family is ready. Once the storm has passed and we ensure the needs are met here in North Carolina, we will quickly assess availability of resources and turn our attention to helping other states that were hit harder than North Carolina. Thank you to our local emergency management and public safety agencies for the work they are doing today to protect our communities. The State Emergency Response Team stands ready to support the 10.6 million North Carolinians and visitors. Finally, here in North Carolina, we utilize a whole-of-community approach, and each of you are an important part of that. Remember to take care of yourselves and your community, especially those friends and neighbors who may be vulnerable or need assistance. Thank you, Governor.
Okay, for the reporters in the room, if you can approach the microphones on the side if you have questions, and then if any reporters have called in, we'll go to those. Yes, sir.
Governor Josh Chapin here, ABC 11. Is it fair to say that you're focused less on the Triangle and the Raleigh-Durham area? You mentioned east of I-95, so maybe you could be more specific. And we see some of the school closures there, so is it fair to say that it's not Triangle focused?
People need to remember, you see this cone of influence, so to speak, of the hurricane. You can still feel effects way outside of that zone. So we do expect rain here in the Triangle, but we think most of the storm, most of the heavier rains will be east of I-95 and along our coast. We do have tropical storm warnings all up and down the coast. We're concerned about the potential for storm surge. And always, we want to keep an eye out on flash flooding and potentially riverine flooding. We don't know about that yet. This storm is moving faster than people had anticipated. That means we're going to get some stronger winds than we thought we were going to get, but maybe less rain. Yes.
Dawn Bonner, the News and Observer. You mentioned about hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. What of the past hurricane seasons here? The lessons that you've taken as far as being ready for, what we know is coming and what could be, days out as far as flooding or anything else?
Yeah, I think we've learned.
You were just hearing from Governor Roy Cooper. Of course, we're going to continue to have much more on what he had to say and what you can expect as our team continues to track Hurricane Idalia. Join us for First at 4 for much more on that. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.